Buffalo Bill fans, what is up? I have officially found a name for this show. It is not a real show, it's just me kind of blabbing at the camera to you about our frustrations mostly with our beloved Buffalo Bills. But yeah, that's what I originally came here to do, was to vent, to hopefully meet other Bills fans, and I have. I've met tons and tons of cool, couple of my best friends from this, and it's been great. So I want to always thank and always remind myself to thank everybody genuinely, and I really appreciate it. But this is the Bills' bottom line. So now this has been tabbed, the Bills' bottom line. And the bottom line is that the former power brokers at One Bills Drive had no idea of the Demolition Man. And that's what I have now dubbed him as. The Demolition Man. Sean McDermott, who has come in to One Bills Drive and taking, I was going to say a wrecking ball, but I want to say that's not apropos. TNT, C4, plastique, whatever your persuasion is, and flushed out, totally vaporized the old guard at One Bills Drive, whether it be a Scott Birchtold, who has been put in a closet, basically, given an honorary title or a ceremonial little, he's probably not even in the building anymore. The soon-to-be jettisoned Jim Overdorf, famed story of him cutting Troy Vincent, and the then head coach Dick Duran doesn't even know about it till he gets on the practice field and asks where he was. Overdorf had released him for salary cap purposes, if you will. Then we have the entire scouting staff, guys that, again, date back to Butler, guys who date back to Donahoe, Modrak, John Guy, a few spatterings of Buddy Nix guys, a couple of maybe 3 to 4 Whaley guys, one of whom he couldn't even name, Whaley himself, who had been there since 2010, and the old circle of friends, kumbaya, get around the campfire, this is the way we always do things, culture that has been fostered at One Bills Drive is no more. And this is something that I've been begging for. You can go scroll back in my videos and find the, what really needs to happen video in 14 when Marone quit, and I said this thing needs to be, they need to go into One Bills Drive and not literally knock the building down, but just, if you have any sort of tenure there, you need to go. You need to go. This guy came in and was obviously made promises and concessions, and people tend to, when people get fired, there's always a taking of sides. There's always a posturing of, well, oh, they didn't give Whaley enough time. I've seen that camp. I've seen the camp of, oh, why didn't they just keep him? And that's always to me, it's like, it's two questions. One, why should they keep him? What has he done to deserve to stay? And people who want to hearken to his drafting and his player acquisitions, and it's just, if the best you can do is give me Mike Gillislee, and I'm not going to give him credit for Jerry Hughes, he wasn't the GM. We could all say he was the one who brokered the trade, but yeah, so what? It still wasn't under his umbrella. But that's what it was. And that's not enough. A backup running back, the McCoy trade, and then I can give you, you know, what, not only what hasn't he done, why wasn't it done sooner? You know, I mean, he's been through 2 head coaches, going on his 3rd as general manager. Has no quarterback, had no quarterback in place whatsoever. Doubled down on a quarterback that was clearly overdrafted, clearly. And if he felt, you know, there's this posturing of, well, he didn't feel EJ was good enough to be picked in the 1st, but Buddy Nix fixed it. Then if he's taking over as general manager, he should have had the backbone to say, you know what, I'm not doing this. I am not going to put my name on a team with this guy going forward at quarterback. That's just not good business. So he has to own that. The taking of Sammy Watkins, who obviously so much news has come down this week, not only with and I'll get to that, which cost 2 first-round picks. A first-round pick, I'm sorry. But it cost 2 fourths. And that's another thing, too. His misutilization of mid-round picks, his inability to forecast and ascertain value at players. And I can cite a big example that nobody ever talks about. Everybody chooses the low-hanging fruit, whether it's a letting go or a unable or just an unwillingness to match a Chris Hogan or a Mike Gillislee. How about Ross Cockrel? Let's look at Ross Cockrel. Ross Cockrel was the Bills' property, a 4th-round pick who had only been on the roster for a year. Was drafted in 14. Tall corner, long corner, everything you look for. But he's cut. He's cut. And the Bills, and now this guy's in-house. They have him under contract till the end of 17. So he'd still be on the team had they not cut him. And if you look at what's going on at the cornerback position since then, the Gilmore situation, losing him, not being able to forecast, well, are we keeping Gilmore in a few years? You know, what type of money should we offer him? You know, early. Get on this early. Get on this 2 years in advance. Not, you know, you got to decide who you're key. You got to be at the forefront of these things. And then in 15, they draft a Ronald Darby. So they invest there after obviously had been given their 1st away for Sammy. They invest their top pick in a cornerback. And then the following year, in 16, they're facing the Gilmore situation. Correct? And then they have depth issues at corner. Couldn't cover anybody this year. And if you look at the situation that they've had at the position now, you know, the adding of guys like the Sharice Wrights and the Leonard Johnsons and the Marcus Cromarties of the world, you know, and then they use their 17. Well, you know, Sean McDermott, you know, almost by necessity, he didn't have to, but he chose to take Tre'Davious White because he felt like he was the best, you know, guy for him at that particular point after making the trade down to acquire a 1st-round pick, and I will emphasize that. So you look at that time frame, the amount of resources allocated to the one position, and then the neglect of keeping a guy that was on your team. And then in a press conference last season, on the lead up to Pittsburgh week, you had Rex admitting, like, that's a cut I regret making. It's a cut you regret making. So who's really controlling the 53? One, you're making cuts because he was cut down on the to cut to get to 53. And why did you cut him again? Who? I mean, I remember their cornerback depth going into 15. It was a hurt Leotis McKelvin, Mario Butler, and the other name just totally escapes me. Ron Brooks, who was also going to leave. There you go. Oh my God. And that right there, I didn't do too good laying it out, but you get it. And then this year, the Corey Whites and Guy Aaron Williams, former Buffalo Bill, has on his Snapchat sleeping in meetings a couple of times. Obviously, a guy Ryan's Rob was familiar with from Dallas and New Orleans. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you had a guy in house, and this is a guy Pittsburgh gave a 2-year contract extension to because he played up to it. And this is a guy who was affordable, cost effective on your roster. It would have precluded you from using top assets in the draft and would have softened the blow of potentially losing your top corner in Stephon Gilmore. And this, it sans all the other, just missteps by this guy. Why are you upset he's gone? That move, encapsulate that one move alone, and you see how one move just totally hurts you, in a systemic fashion. This is a guy you drafted. This is a guy your scout said, well, that we like this guy. But this is a guy you should have said, look, we have this guy's a free agent. We don't know about the guy, the ilk of Mario Butler and failed first-round draft pick Leotis McKelvin. Shouldn't have kept him off the roster. Then you had other situations where, Whaley would go cut a quarterback, Matt Castle, because he wanted to. And this is why I say there was a doubling down of EJ. He was firmly in his camp, given the Watkins trade, given the fact that he cut, and he acquired a 5th-round pick, but still, you could have won a couple of football games and potentially maybe had gotten into the playoffs or positioned yourself to get into the playoffs if maybe. I'm not saying, obviously we know, but this is all revisionist history right now. But I'm just saying there was the divide there. There was all this one Buffalo all-in mantra bullshit that was going on there. We're all in it. No, it wasn't. There was a lot of agendas, all the leaks, all the La Confora leaks that were obviously now germinating from the Doug Whaley faction within the Bills' front office. That's very obvious right now. It's more than apparent. So, and now that's all gone. That's all gone. It's been jettisoned, anesthetized from One Bills Drive, along with this scouting staff who has been inept, incompetent, and just skirting by on just, this is where we just go to work. This is the way we always done things. We're all lifers here. We're the graybeards. Another guy who's on the hook probably is a Bud Carpenter. Who's been there for a really long time, a trainer. When we have questions about guys getting on the field, off the field, health-wise, why are we always so beat up? Why aren't guys, rehabbed correctly? Why aren't they, in treatment correctly? And these are all questions. Why are guys re-injured? And that leads to Sammy Watkins. And I'm in total agreement with the Bills here, not picking up that option. Why should Sean McDermott sign off on any more mistakes? I love Sammy Watkins. I think he's very talented. Was he worth 2 first-round picks with no quarterback? No. If that's what was needed to get you over the hump and you had your quarterback in place, similar to Atlanta with Julio, you have your quarterback, so you can start to make moves to try to push that forward. Okay, that's a lot more palatable to me. But given the draft that it was in and the cost, no. You couldn't see that this was a wide receiver rich draft. You couldn't see that you could have sat there and they were going to take Eric Ebron, but still, if you take Eric Ebron, you don't have, again, you probably don't have, you definitely don't have the Charles Clay contract, which is an albatross on you. So there, again, is another example of a move that really, really just hamstrings you down the line. It's done 2-3 years ago, but it's hurting you here now. And this is what I'm talking about. And McDermott's come in and he has a plan. He's organized. And he's probably got things in order. I'm totally speculating now, but you listen to the way this guy talks and the way he articulates things. There's a clear, concise, poignant vision of what this guy wants to do. Not only just this year, but I would give him to say a year and a half to 2 years, because things change. You can't go too forward, but you can't, go too little. There's definite things in the works, whether it is more tweaks within the building, whether it is more roster tweaks. This roster, and this is even more so now. I think there is a lot of people in pencil on this roster, more so than I named last time. I would put the entire cornerback position, every linebacker position. I would really, not shocking, but so overdue. So overdue, Bills fans. And it feels really good. The speech, the famed, the brand has been tarnished speech that Russ Brandon gave, the Uncle Russ. He came out there on to the lectern and gave this brand has been tarnished, and us Bills fans, even myself, we all gushed, because it has been. It's been shit on and mistreated and abused by those who are there and taken for granted, because it's just a place we come get our checks. It's not a place that has been respected or treated with the care that's needed as a public trust for the Bills fans of Western New York. And I don't live in Western New York, and I'm sure some of you who watch this video do, and you feel cheated. And you hear these things and you see, here's another thing, you see TMZ or Deadspin or whatever putting out picture of Murray and Whaley drinking up at some local downtown Buffalo bar, and you say to yourself, you just shake your head, and they're not on the job anymore, and who cares what they do now? But still, it's like, you feel cheated. And you say to yourself, why should you, you spent your money, you put your emotions and your time, and you're just like, everything was just fly by the seat of your pants. There was no vision. And it, just like I laid out before, there was no vision. Let's just do this now because it's going to get some buzz. Hey, what are we doing now? We have a different coach, new scheme, new system. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it was a certain hubris that they spoke with that was like, well, we know what we're doing. They acted and talked like a playoff team, but they weren't. And even the way I'm talking, I know I'm frustrated, and I'm so glad that they're gone, but it's a conflicting feeling. Like, I'm still a little pissed that all this was allowed to go on, but there was no ownership. There was no ownership. The Pegulas came in, and they seem like nice people. And they seem like people that they'll be nice to a point where they feel like they're being taken advantage of. And then they cut bait. They're that good friend that'll lend you money, give you rides. You got that one friend, right? He's only around when you got stuff. He's a moocher, only wants a ride. He's only around when you got money. If you're going somewhere, can you spot him? And then all of a sudden, if you don't got anything, or he's not there, maybe they find that other friend that's hooking them up a little bit better, and then all of a sudden they go to call you one day, and you just like, fuck this asshole. I ain't dealing with this asshole, and you don't pick up the phone. That's the point the Pegulas got to. I think they felt taken by the Rex Ryan show, and his blundery and buffoonery that was there, and that's McDermott must look so impressive up to whatever Rex was putting forth up there. It must look completely, you know, just the underbelly of Earth to the moon different. And it was a lot different to a lot of people at One Bills Drive, and they weren't used to this, you know, ownership, a coach, a young, energetic, you know, coach with, you know, the gumption and the intestinal fortitude and the wherewithal to go in there and say, hey, look, these are the changes that need to be made, and they're going to be made, and this is how we're going to do things, and if this is not the way you want to do things, then there's no longer a we. There's just the door. And most likely a lot of these people were going to be shown the door anyway, but I'm sure that was the message to the entire building for those who were around or left, for that to fester. You know, the seed was planted. Look, you get along, or you get along. I don't know how that went on, but you get gone. That's the point. Get out of here. Because they've wasted enough of our time. They've wasted your time. They've wasted my time sitting here on Sundays just waiting for something good to happen, or hoping, and looking at what he's done in terms of the roster. I can understand how he doesn't want to put forth a message and then just tear the entire thing down and say we're just going to try to tank and lose. Because if you don't foster some sort of expectation and some sort of standard of winning, there's never going to be any winning. You're just look at the Colts. They got their Andrew Luck, you know, and they had their few years of buzz, and then they've neglected the defense, neglected the offensive line and other positions. You know, the cap was mismanaged. Talent wasn't infused into the roster. He's been beat up. He's gone under the knife for his shoulder. He's missed games. You know, had a rupture, you know, a spleen. And that's what I mean. There's an infrastructure there that has to be, you know, built and cultivated and constantly, you know, just looked after, because you just can't, you know, get your guy. You know, there's this, even I was of this mindset a few years ago. You just get your quarterback and it's going to clear it. It's just going to fix everything. It'll fix some things, but there needs to be more there. You know, there needs to be more things going on. There needs to be, you know, other players that are making big plays. You know, you cite the great comeback that Brady made in the second half of the Super Bowl, but there was a defense on the other side of that who stepped up and stopped that potent, the highest scoring offense in the league after getting, you know, scored on and run up and down the field so much in the first half. You know, a linebacker who caused a crucial fumble, strip sack. You know, a defense that didn't allow them to score and made key stops and tackles in big moments. So that's my point, is, you know, what Brady did was so polarizing and amazing and historic, but there was another component of that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And they did their job. And so many times have we seen the Bills in a big spot need that big play, and they just didn't get it. There, nobody else, whether it was offensive or defensively, rose to the occasion and seized that moment and was willing to take the bull by the horns and say, you know, we're not going to allow this to happen. You know, this is going one way. Guess what? We're about to flip it over on its ear. And he's saying that has to be built. It's not just going to happen overnight. It has to be built. And we're either going to find the players that are here right now. We're going to that we want to help, you know, get that message out. You know, show guys how they work. Not like a Chris Kelsay, who was never the player a Kyra Williams is, or who I don't even know who the other so-called leaders were on those teams. I just remember you knew you were in a bad shape when a Buddy Nix gives a Chris Kelsay a contract extension and cites him as a leader. And I don't even know why I go back to that. But, with Kyle, it's, he's got his last year. Let's try to finish it off right. And then this roster is going to change a lot. It's going to change so much in the next 4 months. And I've said that in my last video, and maybe a lot of things I'm repeating, but it's going to change. I really can't sit here and give you any prognostications about how the season's going to go and how many games they will win and they'll lose their games. But I think you're going to see times and spots this season where the Bills aren't going to be as bungling, near as bungling, and near shoot themselves in the foot. And this is just what we do. Because I think if that's the case, you're going to see situations where, this group here, this position group, or this certain couple of players are not getting along. They'll be cut. We'll turn on our phones, we'll look at our Twitters, or we'll see the notifications that we get from the Bills app, and like, it'll be like a Dolphin situation last year where they just cut 3 offensive linemen who had just started on their last game because they weren't playing up to snuff. Because Gase goes in there and says, look, we want to change this. How are you going to win football games when we got guys just dead weight? Get out. And for too long on Bills rosters, there's just been guys just hanging around there, like the Duke Williams, who was just cut last year because he just was so abominable, but he never should have even been on the roster in the first place. Plays for Duke Williams, but not Ross Cockrel? Exactly to my point. I know they play 2 different positions, but still. All right, Bills fans. You got to let me know what you think about the turnover, all the turnover at One Bills Drive. This is truly what's been needed, what's been lacking for almost 2 decades. And it is, whether it fails or succeeds, I think that it's a positive thing. And what is encouraging to me now that there's ownership in place, and they've spent a lot of money at One Bills Drive, fixing up there's a new practice field that's being built. The facilities have been modernized amazingly. You see that draft room, you see the strength and conditioning in the rehab area, and all the other amenities that they've put in there, a barber shop and all this other stuff for these guys. And they want to return on, it sans all the money they've spent on coaching and players. And they've spent almost $2 billion on a football team. And there's ownership now that's saying to these people, we want to start seeing a return on our investment. And that return is winning. And these people, they were like, we're fucked. Because they're all losers. They don't know how to win. They haven't had the first clue how to win. And now they're gone. Thank you. Thank you. If the Pagulas ever watch this video, even their kids, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank your parents for me. Thank you. Genuinely thank you. From all of us, I'm sure. And I have never, I'll close with this. This is not even being talked about nationally. I have never seen one hire cause such permutations throughout 2 sports organizations like that of Sean McDermott, because he has clearly made an impression and put his stamp on the Pagulas as this is how it's supposed to be. In his short time there, and it's filtered over to the hockey team, where they clear out a GM who was just a similar type of recluse in terms of allocating dollars in free agency, and a Sansa's, turning this into a Sabres thing now. You get your Jack Eichel. Now what else do we have? You're trading first-round picks for goalies, old wingers, no defensemen. The blue line's terrible. Just totally out of moves this year. Didn't move on the coach. Nothing at the trade deadline. And just obviously at the end of the year press conference or meeting with the Pagulas down in Florida, didn't have any answers. He was fresh out of them. And I think that's what happened, that they realized owning these two teams is a lot more, you know, we can't be friends with these people so much as we thought we could. You know, and it's all cool to get out on the yacht and have some cocktails and stuff, but at the end of the day, this is a business. And this business is a bottom line business, and that bottom line is winning. Because the money's going to come in. Your money's the billions that the NFL makes in advertising dollars and sponsorships and merchandise and fantasy football. I mean, come on. So their money is there, but they want to win. Everybody wants to win, but we want to win, and that's a clear mandate now, a clear one. All right, Bills fans, I've wasted enough of your time this week with all these videos. I've probably just catching up and just getting it out of my system after all the time I haven't made videos, but it's all this stuff that has happened, and I think will continue to happen. And it is amazing, isn't it, that it was draft week last week, and we talked so little about it because of all the stuff that is going on. And I hope this draft class can be I hope a Matt Milano steps up and becomes a very strong will linebacker. And, you know, he's undersized, but he can play that position in the vision that McDermott has for him. And Tre'Davious White can be a very good NFL player. And then having that first round pick and having the intelligence to trade, going into the draft with no capital and then coming out with 3 extra picks because you don't match Gillislee, and you trade back and you get an extra third this year, and then you're able to go up and make the moves to get guys that you've earmarked as starters, like a Dawkins, who you see, you know, we want competition at right tackle. Mills is okay, but we want better. Henderson and Cyrus are free agents after this year. Their issues, their situations, they're not our guys, you know. And that's what I mean. See the foresight, you know, maybe it costs us a 5th round pick, but we're going to get that. You know, our wide receiver, you know, the core was hemorrhaging last year. You know, we made some nominal acquisitions, but still, we want this guy, we want this plug and play guy. We're going to have to give up that third, but we got it for this purpose. We've earmarked this guy. Let's just go get him. Let's not risk it. And they did. All right, Bills fans. You have a good one. Take care. Have a great rest of the week. You probably won't be hearing from me for a while unless something, you know, really crazy happens. Bravo to Sean McDermott. Bravo. You know, for better, you know, or if what was done needed to be done. It needed to be done a long time ago. So thank you to the Gulas and McDermott for doing what needed to be done for a very long time. And hopefully there's a lot of winning that comes from it. A lot of winning. And we'll all enjoy it. Thanks, Bills fans. Have a great rest of the week. Take care. And your comments, your feedback, your whatever you want to throw at me is always greatly appreciated. Thank you.